What do you say we cut the chit-chat a-hole?
This year we're going to grab the bull by the balls and kick those punks off campus.
Well, looks like the cows have come home to roost.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the entertainment.ie movie show brought to you by Odeon Cinemas, and we have some Odeon passes to give away this week if you can tell us what your favourite Liam Neeson role is. So it's an easy one. He's been nominated for Oscars. He's one of our finest ever exports. Comment below, tell us your favourite Liam Neeson role, and you could be more chance of winning the tickets. If you're listening on SoundCloud or whatever, log on to our Facebook, comment below, and you could win too. Speaking of Liam Neeson, we're going to talk to Commuter now in a second, but I caught up with him last week and asked about The Commuter, asked about this being kind of an old school movie that you don't really see that much of anymore. Liam Neeson, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Congratulations on the film. There's almost like an old school vibe to this film. Is that part of the attraction, or was it working with the director again?
A bit of both. Not to knock the superhero films, guys in capes and iron suits and all that kind of stuff. It's Hollywood with all its wonderful bells and whistles, but this is, it's got an old-fashioned feel to it. It's a hero I think, everyone can kind of relate to, you know.
Looking back at the kind of the career you've had or the career you're having, there's such an eclectic mix of characters here, from Oscar Schindler to Taken to Star Wars. These brilliant films. Is that what keeps it interesting for you, kind of mixing it up and kind of having that eclectic mix with the different roles?
Yeah, sure, and I've been lucky enough to have this mix, you know. It's like, certainly the past 2 years to have, been involved in the last, it was Taken movie, and then Martin Scorsese calls and wants you to be in his film for 3 weeks in Taiwan. It's like, hello. No, it's great. It's great. I love it. I'm just doing a Coen Brothers Western at the minute with Brendan Gleeson. We're not in the same story. There's 6 different little stories, hence my beard. So I've to finish that. And again, that's another 2-3 week job. Perfect.
We're joined as always by movie editor Brian Lloyd and staff writer Dee Malumbi. Would you like to admire my Liam Neeson interview? Would you like to any comments? Any feedback?
I did like the fact that he explained the beard, that he mentioned why he had a beard, and
give us an exclusive, no less, on that.
Exclusive,
exclusive.
Got a little exclusive out of that, so get on that.
And do you actually caught up with the guys who, and we're going to talk Coco in a second, we're going to talk to Commuter first, you caught up with the directors, the co-directors of Coco.
The director and the producer.
So we might actually try that on the end as an audio. Would that be cool, Charles? We might try that on the end. So if you're listening to this as a podcast, you hang on there when the show's over and you can listen to Dee's interview. Okay, let's talk to Commuter. There was a mixed response to this at the critics' screen, and that people were kind of looking at each other after finishing. I know you guys went to the premiere, kind of going, what was this? I actually thought it was fine. The more I thought about it, the more I not enjoyed it, but the more I can see why it worked. Brian, you weren't a fan though.
No, I wasn't. I thought it was very bland. I thought it was very unoriginal. I thought it was very just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And I know it's the kind of thing that you have to sort of suspend your belief and suspend kind of rules when you go in and watch a film and stuff like that.
I don't know, but something like this though, I think it was the point of it, not that there's an air of realism there. This is like Liam Neeson said in his interview with me, he's like, superhero movies and they're grand, but they're not for me. You know?
I mean, look, I think it's just a bit of fun, and it's silly, and it's very kind of self-aware, and it's not like kind of taking itself too seriously, or at least it has a serious tone, but kind of there's some like ridiculous scenes in it, like the whole like the use of CGI is quite atrocious at times. And remember, there's a throwaway moment to Spartacus, which I thought was hilarious.
I remembered that so well. When they were doing that, it was like, oh my God.
I am Spartacus. It was so good though. It was so funny.
But there was moments in it that I felt worked quite well when you're trying to figure out who the person on the train is.
There is a sense of intrigue there.
And there's context to his character as well, that he was a cop 10 years ago, and at the start of it he meets Patrick Wilson and Sam Neill in a bar and kind of talks about him being a cop. My issue was with it that the red herring is pretty obvious, Brian, from the start, and we don't want to give anything away, but as soon as it clicks, you're like, oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Waiting for it to come back around.
That's my point. That's why I was saying that it was kind of bland and unoriginal, because if you're paying attention in the first 20 minutes, you can pretty much figure out who it is, you know, that kind of way. And then as you say, there's the red herring. Oh, you think it's going to be this, and then it's like, no, it's not. It's nowhere going to be that obvious at all.
Decent hand-to-hand combat scenes though.
What were they though?
There was one long take with Killian Scott.
I didn't really like. See, I didn't really. Oh no, the Killian Scott one I think was okay. The one I was thinking of was with again, we can't say for giving away, but there was one like long shot that was very like CGI heavy
Yeah.
or something, and I thought that looked kind of rubbish, to be
Yeah.
honest. It was like they were trying to do a David Leitch style, but just kind
Or
of
Chad Tedeschi. give and take.
exactly.
John Wick style.
John Wick. But it just ended up looking kind of really fake and phony and
Yeah.
silly, and then he's being like thrown out the window, and there's another train coming, and it was just like, ugh.
Are we being a bit harsh here, lads?
Yeah.
I
We've been
know,
a
yeah,
harsh.
I mean, like, to be
like
fair,
your dad's going to love this film.
exactly. This is like it's a perfect like.
And you'll enjoy it with him and then forget that it existed, Brian, right?
Exactly, that's it. It's the kind of film that if you saw it on telly, you'd probably watch it to the end. If you're on a flight, you would watch it and think, yeah, this is fine.
I think that's a perfect.
Yeah.
That's it. It's an airplane movie.
It's an airplane movie.
I
It's
mean,
an airplane
another
movie.
thing is this is a genre like the action thrillers. There have been some really, really terrible ones produced in recent years, and I think as
Few of them
far
starring
as
Liam Neeson, to be fair.
Mm.
God bless him, great actor.
Unknown.
he
in
is.
fairness,
Non-stop.
it is better than the likes of Non-Stop and Taken 3, which was just like,
Or
I really
two.
don't like that film.
I really don't like that film. It was such a waste of my life. but
We should have opened with Liam Neeson.
but like, look, it's one of the
Why,
better of a
Liam?
bad bunch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I said it to Liam Neeson as well. If you want to watch the full interview, we'll post it below about The Grey. The Grey
Yeah.
is just for anybody who hasn't seen The Grey. It's a Joe Carnahan movie. He made it directly after A-Team, which he made with Joe Carnahan as well, and it's just fantastic. It's not what you'd expect at all. It's a film I kind of get something different from every time I watch it. Shout out though to Patrick Wilson.
Ah, yeah.
Shout out to Patrick Wilson. And if you don't realize how talented Patrick Wilson is, Google Patrick Wilson singing. Jesus Christ.
He's got
that man is
amazing,
talented.
He has got a set of pipes on him. He absolutely has a set of pipes on him. Yeah,
Bit of a rampant man crushing Patrick Wilson.
He has been fangirling over
that's
Patrick
true.
Wilson all week.
Every once in a while I just take out my headphones and be like, have you seen Patrick Wilson singing?
Remember he sent around a video of him
Yeah.
singing to the editorial group. He was like, "Check this out! It's Patrick Wilson. He's a great
And
singer.
he
He's
was
doing a
singing
musical."
with Barbara Streisand in that.
But that's
video.
what it was.
Yeah.
Which was
I did circulate a video of Barbara Streisand and Patrick Wilson. In my defense, it was when Barbara Streisand has asked him to sing and she doesn't know like how good he is, and then it's her and her producer's reaction to him singing. They're like, "Oh shit, we didn't know he was that good."
Yeah, but I mean, was he in Rent? I think was he in like
He
the?
was on Broadway for years.
Yeah.
He
No,
was in
I
the
don't
Phantom
think
of
he
the
was in
Opera.
the movie,
He was in
right?
the Phantom
No.
of the Opera movie. Anyway,
right,
Patrick
yeah.
Wilson is deadly. Basically, is what we're trying to say is, and you support him more.
Great in Fargo
whatever way
season
you
2
can.
as well. Actually,
Best season of television that there ever was. Dare I said it? Somebody had to say it. Jesse Plemons was awesome as well. Who's in the post that we're going to talk about right now?
Nice.
See that
Segue.
shit? Did you see that?
that's why you're on the big books.
Okay, so we've all seen the post and we've seen the commuter, which is
Yeah.
kind of rare for us. We're going to talk Coco in a couple of minutes with D. Brian, you gave this 4.5 stars.
I did.
What are we on? Like, why? Like, it's not a 4.5 star film. It's grand. It's
Okay.
fine.
I thought that it was a 4.5 star film because I thought that it was timely without being obvious. Now I know you thought it was being very obvious with how timely it
A
was.
bit, yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I do think that it was the kind of most propulsive film that Steven
Get
Spielberg isn't like that.
Get
Do you?
you,
You like that?
you
You like that?
dickhead.
No, but I mean, it was.
With your
it was
Cheers t-shirt. All right, hipster, come on.
all right, but no, I mean in the sense of like it reminded me a lot of Catch Me If You Can, in the sense that it had this real sense of pace into it. It was racing along to trying to get this.
No, it didn't. It was great. I don't look. I don't really know what you thought of it, right?
I really liked it. I was probably, more with Brian on this.
Yeah. Catch Me If You Can had like finesse. Like,
You don't think
it
this had
moved.
finesse?
No. This is
Go on.
like this is a worthy film that you're going to get those the hardcore right wing goals. That's the left making a typical
Sure, yeah.
whatever movie. And I said this on Twitter as well. Michael Mann made a much better newsroom movie with The Insider, which
Yep.
is one of the most underrated films ever made, genuinely, hyperbole aside. And David Fincher did a better newsroom as well in Zodiac. There was no edge to this newsroom at all. I'm by no means saying that this is a bad movie. It isn't. It's a very good film.
It's quite idealised, I'll say that.
It's a solid film.
Yeah.
But not that much happens in it.
Well, like no, I mean,
Considering the context of the four presidents,
Sure.
the cover up, the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
everything else,
yeah.
there was no real...
Well, like I think what sold this film for me was I thought Meryl Streep, and like I know this is kind of obvious to say, but she was incredible in this.
She
Like,
was all right.
I swear to God,
on.
I think this is up there with like Doubt. Is in her later career, this is up there with Doubt, as in a really strong performance. Every scene she's in, she is building and layering it towards the eventual, the finale of it.
But like what finale?
Well, the finale, that like it's, she starts off and she's this very kind of meek and unsure of herself and doesn't really know what she's doing, and she's able to kind of say a lot with not saying anything.
Well, she's the greatest actress of her generation.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And
yeah.
this is like an example of, like, you ever want to know why she's a really good actor? Watch this film. The performance she gives is that strong in it. And then I'd say, like, it starts off and she's this really kind of meek, unsure of herself, and by the end of the film, like, she's striding out of a courthouse and she knows exactly what she's done, and she's really.
You guys got something completely different from this.
Like, I will say, here's what I will say about it is that I think if you enjoyed The West Wing and you enjoyed that,
love The West Wing.
So why didn't
I'm
you
just
love
shooting
this
your analogy out of war?
No, but like, I mean, it's that sense of like really idealistic. It's really kind of like almost too idealistic at times. Like, there is parts of this
The West
film.
Wing had better dialogue.
I thought this had really good dialogue. Yeah, I thought it was really well written. Yeah, I just found it really. Look, I just thought this is like a production of people at the top of their game. You've got Steven Spielberg, brilliant direction. Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, I'd add, great acting. It's really well written. It's really kind of exciting. I thought it did move along at a really good pace. Now, I do take your point, though, in that compared to other newsroom dramas, it's probably not as fresh, not as original. But dare I say it, and hopefully people won't be like jumping down my throat about this, but when was the last time Steven Spielberg had a really kind of original movie? Because his last two were the BFG, which I thought was kind of rubbish, and Bridge of Spies, which again a lot of people were just underwhelmed by. I know Mark Rylance now won the Oscar for it, but
when you mentioned Bridge of Spies, this is the same level for Bridge of Spies for me.
Really?
It was good. It was fine. That's it. It was grand. Like, by no means, and the Steven Spielberg documentary on HBO, actually, I'm sure it's online somewhere, is fantastic. It's just absolutely worth a watch. And for no second am I saying Steven Spielberg has made a bad film. He's not what he has over his career.
Sure.
I'm not saying that this is a bad film. It just felt to me like a film you should like. You should like this because look who's in it. And she hasn't made a good film in a while, and he hasn't made a good film. And now it's like. No.
I will say that. I'll bite on that. Yeah, he is right in the sense that it is very
blindfolded.
But in the sense that like it is very worthy. It's sort of like, I mean, it was like when what's his face Seth Meyers made the joke in the Golden Globes when he was talking about it. It was like, it's a film directed by Steven Spielberg with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep about press journalism, and then your one walks out with the awards. It's like no, not yet.
That was a really funny
joke.
Like,
and that's
perfectly.
You're absolutely right in the sense that it's the kind of thing that it is so loaded with talent and so prescient. And so
another. What's the story with him like?
Doesn't matter.
But somebody got some sleep last night. Yeah. Brian Humphrey comes in here like.
But I'm saying, like, it is like, it's the kind of film that like it is probably does insist upon itself, and that like you should absolutely love this. Why don't you love this? Like,
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I would also add that I think, and Brian, you did admit this the other day as well, I do think that I got a bit swept up in it, in the fact that they're like totally like praising journalism and saying it's the best thing. It's like, yay, I'm relevant.
Like, I mean, so many people, we're all journalists to some degree as well. You know what I mean? Like, watch this film, and it's kind of, that's a bit what it felt like to me. It felt a little bit preachy. Yeah. And again, Meryl Streep is superb. You know, I'd hate to see her win the Oscar for this though, because there's much better performances.
It'll get nods, but I don't know if it'll win anything, if I'm being totally honest.
You're going to look like Jessica Chastain probably won't get nominated for Molly's Game. You know, Margot Robbie for I, Tonya, which is I think the dark horse of this entire award season, and she's, in my opinion, gives probably the best performance as well. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk Coco. And this is one of the best reviewed movies of the year. It's at like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. You saw this at Disney Day a while ago and you loved it.
I loved it. I loved it so much I went to see it again last weekend with my little sister. Yeah.
What did she think of it?
Oh, she really liked it as well. Yeah. It's just so sweet and moving, and it's really like just colourful, and you're totally kind of swept along with it and all the characters and the theme of family, and it's all just lovely, like feel good, nourishing stuff. You know, it's a nourishing movie. It just like fills you up and makes you feel really good. Now, I will admit that like Disney Pixar, again, because I was talking about this I think the other year with Moana, which I think is only kind of one of Disney's like so movies in recent years, but Disney Pixar like set the bench so high for themselves because they've had so many incredible movies,
and for a while they were outdoing it with each movie.
Exactly. Now, kind of like in terms of like story and plot, there's basically this kind of mystery which drives the movie forward, and I don't know, I've been talking to other people who didn't pick up on it right away. I felt that I kind of figured it out quite early.
So there wasn't. So smart.
No, but there isn't. you could figure it out.
Yeah.
So
If
we're
you've
getting
seen enough movies, you can figure
we're
it
getting
out.
very snarky with each other on this show, and I feel like it's my fault. I just feel like I set the tone.
But
so I
like
apologize.
that's not where the main enjoyment comes from. It comes from like the gorgeous design, the fun characters, you know, the story of like love and family, and it's a really nice movie.
And then you talked to the directors. What was that like?
I talked to Lee Unkrich and
Who's made some cracking?
yeah, amazing. So he's like co-produced the likes of Monsters Inc. His first solo directorial film for Pixar was Toy Story 3, which is amazing. And I actually asked him a bit about that incinerator scene because like I think that it's an amazing scene, not just in animation ever, but in movies ever. Like everyone is like on the edge of their seat, like bawling when you watch that film,
So well
which
done,
is
that scene,
amazing. And the producer Darla K. Anderson, she was really cool as well, really chatty. And interestingly enough, fun fact, if you've seen Finding Nemo, and there's a little girl in it called Darla, and she has braces and she's really scary, she is named after Darla Anderson, the producer.
I only
So,
watched
yeah.
Finding Nemo again. It was on over Christmas. It's such a lovely film as
Such a
well.
cracking
Yeah,
film.
it's gorgeous.
Such a cracking film. My favorite. We're only talking about that. My favorite scene is the bit with the shark. I hope the bit with the shark.
Yeah.
Hello, name's Bruce.
So come here. What's out next week? We don't know where we are going to be moving studios. We don't know when we're going to be moving studios. We're
Bit up in the air.
This is going to go live one Friday, and we're going to be in a different place.
We're gonna be
basically.
yeah. It's gonna be so. We're so organized. Like,
So I want to know what's coming out next week. But again, the flag, we are going to be doing a movie podcast. We are going to be doing a long form, proper dense movie podcast between 40 and 60 minutes, so you can listen to us prattle on for longer on the
gonna
bus
be
and the like.
horrible.
It's going to be horrible, yeah. So what's out next week?
Early Man, Downsizing, and
Maze Runner, the
Maze
Death
Runner
Cure.
Death Cure.
I actually got him to look that up just before the
look it up?
show.
2 out of 3.
Yeah.
2 out of 3. That's not
good.
bad.
Well
Yeah,
done.
I did good.
Fiona Flynn, our TV editor, actually caught up with Maisie Williams.
She did, yeah.
Maisie Williams from
And
Game of
Rob
Thrones and Rob Brydon. So we'll throw that into the show next week as well. It's already online though if you want to have a look. So thanks so much for joining us again this week, folks, and thanks to Charlotte Reed in production. We'll see you next week.